So as a kid growing up in the 70s and 80s, riding my bike around here and hanging out with my grandfather, I saw the Lincoln Avenue kind of have its ups and downs. When I moved back into Bellevue a couple years ago, we saw some of these businesses come back to life. We look at Revival and 202 Tacos, a new candle shop, and investments in some of these other buildings that are about to be rented. And we look at a place in a part of town that really had a lot to offer, that really didn't have a lot to offer, but it does now. And what's really interesting is that the economic opportunities that come up in Bellevue are really laying the groundwork for things like this to occur. And then you take into account the community involvement and volunteer participation in some of these projects that it took, myself included, helping out to make these things come to reality, where you had an abandoned building and now you have a functional, viable business that people come from all over the city to eat at. After I moved back to Pittsburgh, we were scouting different neighborhoods on where to buy, and I actually started delineating areas that I didn't want to live in, and then figured out areas that I did want to live in and invest in, and always came back to Bellevue. So my wife and I bought in Bellevue, and then went on to buy some other additional properties that had been boarded up for 5 years, renovated them from head to toe, and now we have 2 apartments in that building. It's a great example of what can happen when you have some buildings that have been boarded up and have been nothing but a nuisance property where people are willing to put their investments in and start these businesses up. It's a sign of the times. It's only going to get better for Bellevue, and we need a council who's on board to making things like this happen. So when we moved back to Bellevue, we purchased a house that had been subdivided up into 4 apartments. It's a beautiful old house. So I'm on the 3rd year of renovating it back to single family as it was designed. With that in mind, I think the investment in real estate here is going to be a really big endeavor for people to take advantage of. The locals especially, who have grown up here and have lived here, are able to ride this economic wave that I believe is just started. It's the reason that I invest in Bellevue for my own home and for our rental properties, and we even run our home business out of Bellevue. So as we see these businesses starting in locations that used to be abandoned or closed up or covered in ivy with a caved-in roof, and we see people investing their money into it, and locals, the community coming together and backing these places, that sort of energy just spreads out. Oh, you see articles in the Post-Gazette about Bellevue. It's not uncommon anymore. Come to this restaurant, check this out, go to the brewery, it's great. They're good people doing good things in a good neighborhood. It's bound to succeed and draw people in from elsewhere around the city, the state, and the country. So one of the reasons I decided to run for council was attending several of the council meetings when requests were coming in for people to put their time and their money into starting such businesses, and receiving resistance and reasons to say no and hurdles and roadblocks, when I believe council should be in a position to foster these sorts of relationships and entice people to come and move into that abandoned building, or sink your money into a building that had been walked away from for many years, and start a fantastic restaurant where people are swooning and raving about, and food critics are coming, and editors of papers are writing articles about. These are all great things that need to be encouraged, and if this momentum is going to continue, we need a council who recognizes this.